Moving on to Hellraiser Hellseeker, part 6 of the Hellraiser franchise out of 10. Can you believe there's 10 Hellraisers? Jesus Christ. I have this shitty pack because they don't really make great copies of these movies. It's a shame. I hope they put a better box set out one day. This was a movie that I've seen every one of these before, but this is one that I was kind of unsure about my liking or disliking all the way up until the end. And I actually think the end really made a lot of my problems within the film go away. And I was kind of like, oh yeah, like because of this ending, it actually plays well into all the things that I was kind of like, I don't know if I like that or not. I don't know if I like that or not kind of things. And we'll get into those. So Ashley Lawrence returns here. Now, whenever you bring back a main character from the original film for a later sequel, years and years later kind of thing, that's a tricky situation because, you know, you don't want to taint the memory of that character in this film. And even though I did end up enjoying the film as a whole, especially as I said with the ending, how it all transpired, as far as what I think about what they did with her character, there are some questions that arise there that do kind of, I don't know, skew my vision and feelings towards her as a character in the original films now because I see what happens to her later. I also don't like that if you're going to bring back Ashley Lawrence, it should be an Ashley Lawrence centric film, a Kirsty Cotton film. She shouldn't just be a character that's coming in and out of the film. I don't feel like she had that great of a career, unfortunately, so I don't think that she was that costly to get back, and I feel like they could have used her throughout the entire film and made this all about her and Pinhead trying to get back in contact with her by bringing her back to hell, whatever. Not contact, like he's calling her up, like, Kirsty, what you doing tonight? Oh, come on, give me another chance. Hell's not that bad. Not like that. Just, I wish that if they're going to bring this character back, fucking bring her back. Don't make her in the opening and then sporadically sprinkle her in here and there and then throw her in at the end. That's just silly. That all being said, I did enjoy the film itself, and that's what I try to do with these movies, is I try to disconnect myself from my wants and my desires, and I look at the film as a whole and I say, did I enjoy that film? Not as a Hellraiser movie, as a film. And yes, I did as a film. As a Hellraiser film, something I was noticing about this one, because this has a lot of similarities with the last one, Inferno. I view the first 3, and maybe even a little bit of 4, as films about characters that the Cenobites are trying to take to hell. And in Inferno and Hellseeker, we get to see what it's like when these characters are in hell. Because that's what these films are really trying to portray. They're trying to portray what happens when you are actually in hell with the Cenobites. And I really like that. I like that, we've got to see them trying to get them, to bring them to hell, to see glimpses of what the pains and the tortures would be of hell. But we get to see it fully imagined in Inferno and Hellseeker. And they are awful. Like, it is just horrible shit. You do not want to live like this. We also get Dean Winters here from Oz. He does very well in this movie. I like him a lot. We get a Carnival of Souls type opening, and I am a big fan of Carnival of Souls. If you haven't seen that, it's one of the best atmospheric horror films ever. It's public domain now, so you can find it anywhere. There's a Blu-ray from Criterion that I definitely want to pick up because that movie's fabulous. And we actually have some pretty good gore effects in here. There's an opening where Dean Winter's character is getting his head operated on, and they actually go in and cut his skull, and drill into his skull, take out the little cube like in Saw 3 with Jigsaw, or John Kramer. Spoilers for that movie, and spoilers for this one, obviously. And I'm not usually a huge fan of like the amnesia thing. I'm a big fan of 24, the TV show with Kiefer Sutherland, but man, that first season is rough because of his wife's like amnesia thing. I'm not a big fan of that whole thing, but that was one of the things, in addition to other things I'll be mentioning here, that I felt like paid off in the end, because the ending really just kind of brings it all into focus, and you're like, oh, this is why all this was happening. This is why he can't remember it, because he's in hell and it's a perpetual cycle, and he's having to live all these horrible nightmares over and over, and it's just fucking with his mind. It's awful. We get a Hills Have Eyes reference here, which is cool. I love the line when the neighbor comes over and is like, are you okay? And he's like, not at all. That is such a me thing to say. That's not what people want to hear, though. They just want to hear good, and so they can get on with their day and pretend like those pleasantries actually meant something. And another thing was just like, it was kind of funny to me, because like every chick in the movie is just all over him and all about him and just trying to fuck him at every turn. And because he's so passive and so like not interested in it, you're just like, come on. But at the end, that totally makes sense, because he was having an affair on his wife with all three of these women. And let me add that Ashley Lawrence still looks fantastic in this movie. And I've seen pictures of her now. She still looks great. Man, that woman has aged well. So I'm not sure why he'd be cheating on her, but probably shouldn't be cheating on anybody. But yeah, it made all the sense at the end. Was like, oh, well, this was the women he was having an affair. He was fucking these women, which makes sense when you go back. This is a good film to rewatch. This would be a good second viewing. Now, this is my second viewing, but it's been too long, so I didn't remember almost any of it. Going back and watching it again in a short amount of time would be beneficial for sure. And we get a lot of time distortion and unreality stuff here, which is just, it's unsettling. Like if you felt like you were that character. And something I always have to like think about when I watch a movie like this is this what some people experience? People with like schizophrenia and certain other mental illnesses, mental disorders. Is this what their life is like? Like they're in and out, and they can't remember things, and they think everything is different than it is. And if this is how certain people's lives are, oh my God, what fucking hell those people must live in. Ugh, horrible stuff. We get the Le Marchand mentioned here, the lineage from Bloodline that made the box, which I thought was cool. I always love connective tissue to previous installments, getting that continuity in order. We get to see Pinhead as an acupuncturist, which with his whole facial thing going on there, it definitely seems like he would have some talent at that. The scene where the detective like really comes down on this guy after his wife has died, like if my wife has just died and some detective was fucking just like giving it to me hard, that sounds gay, but being like overly, pushing on me and whatnot, I would fucking lose it, man. There's no way. I would be arrested like instantly, because I would just like pop him in the face. I get it, like 95% of murders on a woman is like their husband, like 95% of the time, I think, is a statistic. It's fucking crazy high like that. But still, my brain, I just was watching that scene like, dude, there's no way. There's no way if I was in this situation, because in his mind, he didn't do anything wrong. Like in his mind, he has no memory of any of this shit, because none of this actually even happened. This is just a hell that he's being put in, and he's just kind of confused. But it takes away his memories of what his actions were beforehand, and that's where it's kind of weird. Like, I understand once he's shot dead by Kirsty, that he has no memories and that they can kind of, play with his memories in that moment and so on and so forth. But the stuff that happened prior to that, like him getting her the box and him pushing her to open it and all that terrible stuff that he did, how they were able, I guess they can just take whatever memories they want from him, which is even more terrifying. They could completely restructure all of his memories and make him forget who he is. And so there's plenty of stuff to play around with in there. Hell is not a place you want to go, obviously. And another problem I was having with the movie, which the end fixed, was the whole, like, a big problem I had with Inferno, even though I did enjoy it, is that the whole film feels like a big fake out. Like every scene's like, nope, that really didn't happen. Nope, that really didn't happen. Nope, that didn't really happen. And you just kind of got this sense of like, does any of this matter? And at the end, it was like, yes. Like if it's reoccurring, he has to kind of continue to keep going through these shit and the cycles and whatnot, and the pain and the misery and the confusion and the heartache and all. Like, yes, it does make sense. And I do like it now that it's over. But during the film on my first watch, it was getting a tad annoying, feeling like nothing had any stakes to it after a while. And the two-headed detective scene where like the guy's head comes out from behind, and oh man, that's one of those scenes where you're like, wow, dated. The CGI, all that stuff. Like, could that have been a cool scene if they had used practicals and whatnot? Maybe, yeah, I think it could have worked. But, whoo, that CGI. And I try never to get too down on CGI. I don't care about that stuff, as I always use as a comparison, as Langoliers. I effing love that movie. It doesn't matter. It's just, it was noticeably awful, and I couldn't help but want to point it out. And the whole idea that, okay, so let's get into this with Kirsty. The whole idea of the fact that, A, she would ever open the box again. Like, he just gives it to her and he's filming her and whatnot, and it's like, Kirsty would never open that box. I don't give a fuck what he did. He could hold a gun to her head, he could do whatever. She's like, no way, I closed that. Like, you can kill me and I'll go to heaven. Like, I'm not opening this box. It could potentially land me in hell forever. Like, she knows hell exists, so I'm guessing she knows that a heaven exists. She's probably lived a good life since then. If I knew a heaven existed, I'd clean up my act even more. Not that I'm really doing anything all that bad, nor do I think I should go to hell if that was to be a reality. But I just feel like, would she ever open that box? Like, even at the cost of her life or anything? Hell no, she wouldn't. She's seen what's on the other side in part 1 and 2. Like, fuck that. No way she's opening that box. And not only does she open the box, but then she agrees to murder 5 people. And 4 of those people are murdered off of infidelity. Infidelity, to me, is not a crime that is, punishable by death. Like, I was seeing a trailer tonight when I went to see Winchester where they had this awful movie trailer. I can't even remember what it's called. I don't give a fuck. It was awful. But it was this woman, and she was like jealous about her husband with a new wife or whatever. She was like stalking them and like, had a gun and was wanting to kill them. I remember when the trailer ended, like people in the theater were like, you dip dip dip, yapping to each other. And I was just like, I said out loud because I was just so annoyed. I was like, or you could just fucking get over it and leave him. And everyone just kind of like looked back for a second like, because there were some people who I guess thought that was cool. And I'm like, really? Killing somebody for cheating on you? This is ridiculous, okay? You move on. So, I don't know. The fact that she wants to kill 4 people for infidelity? Like, the guy's a piece of shit. I get that. But just leave him. Murder? And the odds that she's going to get away with this, the odds that, they're not going to test her hand for gunshot residue when she shoots him in the head. And here's a tip, Kirsty, by the way. If you're going to shoot somebody, make sure they're not driving a fucking car. That's probably a tip. If you're going to shoot them, go and pop a gun to their fucking head and shoot them when they're, you're just standing in a room or something. Like, in a car, really, when he's driving like 60 miles per hour? Not well thought out. So yeah, I don't know. The whole idea of her being a murderer and her opening the box so easily, it just, I don't know. It taints the character to me a little bit. I would think she'd be much wiser in the future. And I did like one of the last parts of the movie when the coroner is talking to the whatever the chick is. She goes up and she's talking to the dead body, and he's like, "You're creeping me out, and I'm a coroner." That line made me laugh. But yeah, anyway, I enjoyed it. As I said, cool movie. But it does fuck with Kirsty's character a little bit, and I feel like this movie should have been completely about her. Those are my complaints. So as a Hellraiser film, I think it fails a little bit. Or maybe even more just a Kirsty movie. But I do really like the aspect of seeing what happens to characters once they are in hell. All right, guys, time to move on to part 7, Deader. I don't know how much deader you can get, but we'll see.